the Grey Hat Beard podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Grey Hat Beard Princess podcast, the modern workplace podcast where we talk about all things Microsoft 365. Now you may notice that it's just me, Kevin McDonald, the Grey of Grey Hat Beard Princess here, and that's because we've got two others in a show. Last week we were actually at the Scottish Summit up in Glasgow, and we had a session called the Happy Hour Etiquette, where the Grey, the Hat, and the Princess, no beard, was there doing Happy Etiquette session along with Marijn Summers and also Sara, Fennah as well. We recorded that. Now I hope the quality comes through. I've been listening to it a bit and it sounds okay, going to do a bit of processing, but wanted to put it out there as a show for you. I know some of the questions that the audience answered didn't necessarily come through, so apologies for that. We're kind of working on how we can bring more of these different live events as we go back to in person to you. So please do listen, let us know what you think. If it didn't work at all, then we'll try and avoid that, but otherwise, enjoy. Cool. Well, I want to say thank you everyone for coming up and finding us up on the ninth floor. We are the Happy Hour Etiquette, and we're going to be chatting to you as a panel today about the etiquette of Microsoft 365. I know you'll see this screen a lot, but as everyone says, these events do not happen without the sponsors. So do go and have a chat to the ones that are downstairs. There's loads of great Microsoft swag over there, so go and chat to them, say thank you. Apologies if anyone here from ATEC. Al and I have gone off them slightly because we've been sticking, about 5,000, 3,000 stickers onto plates later. So we kind of thank them, but kind of not as well. But we'll move on quickly. So today is Happy Hour Etiquette. If anyone from the UK has listened to Radio 5 on a Saturday morning, they have a show called Fighting Talk. For copyright reasons, it is absolutely nothing like that at all. We've got four panelists here who will introduce them in a sec. I'm the host on there. We're going to have three questions. Each of the panelists is going to have 3 minutes to answer questions. But with the app, you will be able to vote. And you'll see on there in a minute when I turn it on, there's three buttons. There's I can't remember which round, I think it's a thumbs up that means, yeah, you like that. There's a star, which is hallelujah. I absolutely love what you're saying there. And because we're new Twitter, you can actually downvote as well. So if someone says they like the wiki, I cannot believe any of you like that in Teams, then you can downvote them as well. And you'll see the scores as we go along as well. Yeah. When we get through the top two, on that, we'll go on to a round of Defend the Indefensible. So they will have 30 seconds to try and take a statement that I'll put up on the screen that they have to think off the cuff and try and defend something outrageous. So it's going to be light-hearted. You'll learn some things. It will be a bit of a chat. Let's crack on and let's introduce us. So, Al, would you like to say hello?
Hi, so I'm Al Erdley. I work for Microsoft. I work in the Microsoft Technology Centre.
Fantastic, thank you.
That's it.
That's short and sweet.
Luise.
Hi, I'm Luise. I'm an F365 and Power Platform consultant from Germany, MVP, and blah 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 blah. And I'm a princess as well.
Thank you. Marijn.
Hello, my name is Marijn. I'm an alcoholic. Wrong meeting. Sorry. Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah, that's me. From Belgium.
Fantastic, thank you. And Sara.
Hi. You probably worked out by now. I'm Sara. I'm a Microsoft Certified Trainer, MVP, and quite a unique name, so look me up on social media if you want to know any more.
Fantastic. And last and by every means least, I'm Kevin McDonald. I work for CPS, Office Apps and Services MVP, and the co-host with Al and Luise of the Grey Hat Beard Princess podcast. So if you like what we chat about tonight, do subscribe to that as well. Hopefully all of you, I don't know if you've got too many have joined on there, have got on the app on there. If you haven't, the.app, and the password is happyhour22 exclamation mark. Now let's find out if it is going to work. So here's the moment of truth. And we have a set of questions. And we're going to kick off with question number 1. Scroll that down a little bit so we can see there. And we've got 3 minutes. And up first, I think we have Al. So the question is, which tip did you get from someone most recently, and you do this ever since you heard it? let's kick off. So you should start voting for Al, and we will start the timer. Are you all ready?
Kind of. As ready as I'll ever be.
Let's go.
So it's not a tip that I heard recently. I was trying to think.
So
of one
he's
that
cheating.
I heard recently. Yeah, don't downvote yet. But the thing that I always do is update team status. So if I'm not going to be able to respond quickly, then make sure that I put it into the team status so that people know that actually, if they're going to message me, I'm going to respond in half a day, or I'm actually out for longer. So for me, that's one that everybody should be doing, because it just manages expectations. It manages what people are going to expect from you, so you don't let them down, which is really important.
If that would only work in other applications as well, like if you would only see that in Outlook and stuff like that.
Well, from Outlook, your out of office will show up in the Teams.
True, but if I'm writing down like I'm at the Brewdog all night and I might be approachable until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, then that would also be nice if that would also show in if other people are trying to email.
Marijn, you know that this, we have the chat afterwards. You're absolutely brilliant. Don't give it all away.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so yeah, you could. What other applications would you use then? Teams is the instant messaging.
Outlook. Because let's be fair, I mean, who is using more of Outlook than Teams?
I don't think people expect an immediate response from Outlook though. If you send an email, you're not expecting that.
Yeah,
But Teams you are, yeah.
That's true.
Right, hold up there, Marijn, because you're up next. There will be a little bit of time, so we will have people questions or comments on it. We've got a bit of time after each question to run through that. But, Marijn, are you ready to go with your tip?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Time to go.
So I'm a consultant. I work for lots of customers, mostly at the same time, and I need to change a lot from one tenant to another tenant. So I'm using browser profiles for that. That should be known. Super nice feature. But what I'm using for a lot of time is the My Contents bit on the office.com homepage, and that will show you all files that were emailed to you as an attachment or in OneDrive or whatever. So that is just one super easy way to just find all the documents in one place for every customer that I go to. So that's my tip. Try it out if you haven't tried it yet.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Marijn. Next up, we have an app that suddenly stopped responding.
It was tested.
Something went wrong.
We should have any second time now. Luise, are you ready to give your top tip?
Yes.
Fantastic. Over to you.
Okay, so in the Outlook mobile app on your phone, you can find settings for out of office, and I really recently stumbled upon that. And you can enable, so if you're just like traveling from, I don't know, Thursday to Monday, you can swipe a toggle, and this will just like not only set you out of office for that time, but block your calendar for this time so that you're really out of office. And you can also just like auto decline all those meetings that someone put on your calendar in this time. And I really, really like that, because this is super helpful if you just want to disappear from this planet for some reasons for a short amount of time. You know.
Hangover.
There's lots of reasons I can think of.
Yeah. So we can discuss the reasons later, but I think this is relatable. And I recently stumbled upon that, and it's quite new, I think.
You've got to watch out for recurring meetings when you do that. You don't just decline recurring meetings.
Yeah, I should test this. That is the only well,
it's not such a bad thing. But
yeah, but it's just like, oops, that was Outlook. It was not the user who did this.
But the other thing.
You can steal that, okay?
The other thing
you just say Luise said so.
It can decline any new meeting requests that come in as well.
Oh, that would be nice.
Yeah, so it will do that, which annoys people when you automatically decline my meeting. Yeah, I'm on holiday. Why would you automatically decline my meeting if you're on holiday?
Yeah, well.
You mean you don't attend meetings while you're on holiday?
No, that's not what I said.
Phew, I was getting worried there.
Thank you, Louise.
Thank you.
Sarah, let's bring your ready with your tip.
Yeah, so my favourite tip is something I stumbled across on Twitter. And I don't know about you, but people send me messages in Teams and Outlook, and the conversation gets muddled, and some of it's in one, some of it's in the other. But did you know when you search from the homepage of office.com now, you can search for messages, and it includes your Teams messages and your Outlook messages in one place. On top of which, if you combine it with Bing, sorry. But if you integrate Microsoft Search with Bing, you can do it from just your web browser generally. And I have to confess, I'm sorry, but I use it now. Bing is my default search engine because it's so much easier. And it finds everything that I do in Office 365.
You're that person now.
I am that person.
Okay.
Yes, I'm the one. It's me. Sorry.
We can still be friends.
I do actually have a second tab that points to a different search engine.
See? She's cheating.
Just in case it doesn't find it.
She isn't cheating, she's winning.
I like that.
This
is how you phrase that.
This is brilliant. Could save that up for another tip, actually. Thank you. That was a really good tip. I would say one thing I'd add with Bing that's very good is every time you search in Bing, you get points when you're signed in, and you can use those for Xbox points, and you can enter competitions with that. So that is one other thing. And free coffee as well.
Yeah, brave you to use it. So.
Yeah.
Starbucks gift cards.
It's probably a good time to say I am easily bribeable. Just saying to the palace there. So, audience, do you have any questions or any thoughts you have on those tips or your own tips at all, anyone? Phil, yeah.
For that search on Bing, it is only on the office.com page. It's really weird as to why it's there. So if you're searching from anywhere else, that search doesn't work for the messages. The vertical is not there.
It is.
But
It was yesterday.
Was it?
Yeah.
Did you like it? It's not
It's
mine.
fairly recent
But
stuff.
It likes me, because I like Bing, you see.
Yeah, that's why it's because you integrate with Bing, that's it. But the other thing is, I'm now telling people not to use search in Teams, use that search on office.com, because the search in Teams is not the best. But basically the new one, when you click on the message, it takes you actually into the whole thread of everything, where the one in Teams just gives you the message, which is pretty pointless.
Good
So
point.
that's a good one. Luise, on your tip with mobile, great to know it's now on mobile. It's actually been in the web version of Outlook for at least 2 years or more. I don't use it that
Yeah,
much,
but it's
but
not.
so many people haven't used the web version yet. But they're getting it.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh.
Thank you.
Yeah, but it's.
Is it magnetic?
Sorry, Karen.
Yeah, I was going to say, so in the edge browser, search provider we can custom search for things like Confluence or ServiceNow or various tools, and then you can just search for like a couple of letters or an alias. So I might just do like SN space, and then it's going to bring results back straight to ServiceNow. You can use them for Stack Overflow for lots of sites. So that's really useful.
It's really nice. I think the only caveat I'd say to people with that is you do need an E5 license to get those external ones. But if you have the E5, you can buy it separately, but there is added cost to it. But if you have that, absolutely agree. It's a fantastic way of getting all your search into one place. Definitely.
Additional is OneNote. So OneNote does a great image to text, which is fantastic. You know, if you need the documentation and you don't have access to the tool, you've got a screenshot from someone else. Not having to manually type out what's on the screenshot. It's not perfect, but the better resolution of the image, the closer you can get. And from a security perspective, it doesn't come it's all done with the device.
Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting. I could assume they went off and used the cloud services, but that's all local, is it, with OneNote?
Yeah, no, it's totally built in. It's built in CR. Certainly the fit client.
Yeah. It's very useful too. Yes.
To kind of play on his, that I heard somebody likes Wiki up there.
Oh no, that's gonna haunt me forever. Oh.
you can't search Wiki anywhere, so you're not going to ever search it from the homepage. And again, OneNote, like what you were saying, I love doing the same thing, taking pictures of things and how it OCRs to text, because then you can search it in that notebook, or in OneNote you can search across all of your open notebooks. So, big fan. Yeah. Much better than Wiki.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
And with
Everyone
OneNote,
knows
you can
OneNote's
print to
better than
OneNote as well, of course.
Sorry for gulling you.
Oh no! But also, if you like OCR kind of things, like the Office mobile app is also brilliant for that. That you can actually take a picture of a table and just say, okay, make an Excel table out of this.
Yeah.
So I just recently done that. I'm also a watchmaker, and my accountant sent me a list of all the tools that I bought and asked me if that was still current, but that was just a PDF, no OCR, with a few thousand lines. So I actually took pictures of that and said, okay, put that in an Excel so that I could modify it, because I didn't have the file anymore. So
I don't know if you know in OneNote that you can take the text out of the image and just make it a text container.
Yeah.
And you can translate it too into other languages. So there's so much you can.
It's a very underrated tool, OneNote, I have to say. Cool, I think we will move on to question number 2, hopefully. There we go. So, question number 2 is, which core ideas and beliefs do we need to manifest in corporate culture, our favourite thing, to foster good Microsoft 365 etiquette? And I think we will start with Luise. So,
That was a
just
surprise.
We can't see. It's very unnerving not being seen what he's putting up on the slides.
So yes, Luise.
Yeah, so I think so. One of the core concepts that is behind, just like underneath M365, is really collaboration and transparency. And so because we see what others are doing, and if we want to roll out M365, there is always users who are like, what? And now he can see when I add it to this file, and this feels like control. And of course it's not control, because this goes both ways. And if we do not believe in making work visible and trusting each other and being transparent and open and somehow in public about our efforts, and if we try to just like stay in our own inbox where everything is just like private and it's closed up, and I'm only working on copies of copies because I don't trust people. Yeah,
I love that you looked at Alex.
Yeah, you would just like a placeholder. So I like you, but I don't like, So then it would be very, very difficult for people to really adopt M365. So we need to change these beliefs in corporate culture, and that is the hardest thing ever. It is. There's like all the tech stuff. It's just like it's nothing against that. So I chose to not do that anymore because it was too hard. So I will leave that to the to people who are more patient, because that is just no. It is just like enduring that, because change is super hard for people, and we need to acknowledge that. And I'd say, yeah, but there are so many cool features, and they don't give a shit on features if you can't explain why this is beneficial, because all of that, I don't trust you and I do not want to work with you and I hate people, that caused this pain that we have since, 50 years in organizations. And only if we overcome that, then we can leverage M365 or tools like that. And that is the core for me.
Thank you very much.
Trust. It's the core part.
Yes, it's trust.
I think, where does this keep me sitting? Next up, let's have Sara.
It's going to be no surprise. I'm going to pick training. If you don't train your users, you have wasted every single penny you have invested in the technology, in the equipment. Not everyone needs the same thing. Yeah. We don't all need to sit down and go, what is Office 365? Let's start at the beginning. But no, if we don't train our users how to use the tools, they are bricks in the corner. Just as useful.
Sorry, that's the users or the tools?
Both. and the computers and yeah.
Very good point.
They're not going to ping for a solution.
No, they're not. No, that's why there is a website called Let Me Google That For You.
But you can set it to let me bing that. For you.
Oh, great!
Yeah, really, you can do that.
Really?
You can do that.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Look it up. It's true.
Should we Google that for him?
Please Google let me bing that for you.
Kevin, do you have a round for guilty pleasures? We have done Bing search, we have wikis and teams.
I don't have guilty pleasures.
Yes, you do.
In every
That's the late night session. Thank you, Sarah. Next, I think we'll have Marijn.
All right. So for me, it's two things. One is start with the basics. So kind of what you said, training is very important. But not just training in Office 365, but really start with the basics. One of my customers is an environmental council. They're all PhDs, professors, whatever. They can't work with their laptops. It's terrible.
I feel your pain.
Yes. So start with the basics, like things like set out of office things, in super basic things that you would expect everyone to know, but they don't. The other thing is, don't forget blue collar workers as well. So I've got a few customers that are doing engineering stuff, and I see a lot of people on the factory floor working around with these rugged tablets and stuff like that. So don't forget to include those as well. They will not use Outlook and Word and Excel and PowerPoint, these things, but they will probably use Teams. They will be using Power Apps. They will be doing stuff like that. So don't forget to include those when you do training, when you're rolling it out.
Fantastic. Thank you, Marijn.
Just as an aside, I worked at the NHS for a while, and the senior consultants were the worst. I don't think they knew how to type.
So, not kidding. 4 weeks ago, I explained someone that there is a right click.
Were they a Mac user?
They were not a Mac user, and it was like I was speechless. So, and that does not happen very often.
But was it like a right click or wrong click?
Very nice. I'm sorry, I haven't filled the audience into getting votes, but that would have got mine. Right, Al.
So for me, it's about setting expectations about response times. What tool do you use when you want a quick response or a slow response? I work with a lot of clients and do sessions with them around how they communicate. And one of the questions I ask is, if you get an email, how long is it going to take you to respond? And the answer is always, well, it depends who it's from. If it's from my boss, if it's from somebody important, then it's going to be quicker. But then you get we don't really know. We just kind of send an email, and if nobody responds, we'll send a message on Teams. And if nobody responds then and they're green, then they're just ignoring us, so that's rude. Whereas they might actually, if they had guidance as to how long they're expected to take to respond, then it would actually help people. So to understand, email is, for external maybe, and for, clients, whereas internally you'd go to Teams, but you'd be expecting it to be, when the person is free, unless you flag it as important. You can flag Teams messages as important. You can flag emails as important to make sure that people are aware you probably want a response a little bit quicker. But, how many of us look at email all of the time and respond all the time? Hopefully not many. Teams, again, hopefully we're not just keeping an eye on Teams to look for messages. So setting those expectations about what to use when, how long to expect a response, how long you should be waiting, is really important. And also, we can actually use these. We can actually just call people. And none of us do that anymore.
Wait.
It's the look of shock.
Okay, so here's my line. I have opinions.
No, not opinions. Surely not.
Yeah. Of course, I have opinions because I use my phone for everything but calling. So it is just like, right? It's just like I do everything on my phone. I never call.
Sorry, does this make calls?
There's a button on it somewhere. It's hard to find.
It's what you get from your parents.
It's green. I know, but
No, I don't want to talk to them.
and with my computer, we sit in meetings all the time. So that feels like wrong to me. It really feels wrong. And so setting expectations about when to reply, I find this very, very difficult to have an SLA on communication. So if there are processes in an organization, then of course we have an SLA. But they preferably don't go by text message, hey, can you do this or can you do that? Please don't do that, because that is not proper project management. And we should not be doing it like that. So just like having an SLA, a Teams message feels like we are again abusing tools, like we did this in email for 30 years straight. And now we do this in Blurple. That does not make anything better at all. So, sorry.
But you need to set expectations as to how fast, which tool to use, when. Because otherwise, if people send an email and they're expecting an instant response, then they're using the wrong channel.
And your expectations could be: do not send me tasks there, send me tasks. DevOps planner. So, let people know.
Email is not for tasks. Even if you phrase a task like, hey Alan, can you please update the slides? That is a task. Even if I ask nicely, and that is not for email and not for Teams messages at all. We have
just WhatsApp. Yeah.
I use SMS. that is not for messages, and of course people will learn when you respond.
Do they?
So if you send me an email and I will reply a week later, then Luise replies a week later.
So you set the expectations through your responses.
Yes.
Do you think, Al, do you think that Teams could do more? Because there's a way that we can set expectations on our time. But if I wanted to chat to you, and I know it's not important, but we're talking in Teams rather than Outlook, I can't set a message. I can't send a message to you to say, read this when you're ready. Can I? You can set your expectations, but I can't set an expectation when I send a message.
Absolutely.
I think that's a big problem.
Yeah, I can set my expectations as to how fast I'm going to respond.
But I might have something that I think, you might be interested in this, but it's like an article that you don't need right now, but I've got no way of downgrading it.
Yeah, but you can send later, I think. So you can do that in Outlook now. I don't think it's come into Teams yet, has it? But it's on the roadmap to come.
But it's not even really sent later.
It's not
sent later. It's low priority.
Yeah, it's like
You use that rather than the exclamation mark or the urgent.
Which we've had in Outlook actually. You can downgrade
I
an
need
email
this
out
blue arrow, which we have in Outlook. Which
so
we
nobody
do not
uses.
have in Teams. Yes. I get you.
I'm going to put why am I putting the Microsoft hat on? Feedback. Use the feedback site. Tell them. If you don't tell them, they won't give us it.
Absolutely.
They say they are listening.
It's worth a try.
It's actually 2 points. That's it to your last point. I don't always know where to go.
Feedback.microsoft.com.
Yes, the
Everything
new
now.
voice.
Everything's moving there. If it's not there, it's coming soon.
And there's also in Windows 11 there's an app for that as well. That is, I think, automatically installed when you install Windows 11.
The other point I was going to say was, in terms of expectations, people tend to send you a meeting invite, even though you already double, triple, it'd be nice if Teams could do something like what Outlook does now, which says, it looks like you meant to attach something to that. If you do, if Teams would prompt to say, actually, have you actually looked at that availability? That would be fantastic.
It does have the scheduling feature though for you to see like their availability.
People just don't use that.
Yeah.
So I did write a flow that would actually respond to people who double booked me. I don't use it as I work at Microsoft because it would probably offend an awful lot of people. But at a much smaller organisation, it offended pretty much everybody to start with, and then they just got used to me just declining meetings.
They just ignored it and
and then just carried on booking stuff.
Just on the expectations, like one thing I've seen becoming popular in our organization is people actually setting on their Outlook signature. Just because I'm responding at this time doesn't mean I expect a response from you now. Some people might dip out for part of the day because they've got a childcare, do some work in the evening. So there's an awful lot of room for their blog to say, I don't expect a response now just because it suits me, email me now.
much easier as individuals to set those expectations.
Yeah. And you can do that, to your point about team statuses earlier, you can set that same thing in Teams to set the expectation there. This question of Flip.
What do you do if you have an IT culture that is all about M365 and they're good etiquette, and then you have some higher up culture that uses Zoom for all institute meetings and insists on keeping Zoom and won't let go of Zoom?
Theoretically, this
we
is.
try to pull it out of their...
Go to the firewall and block.
You throw tech solutions at people problems, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the challenge there is to look at why they're using Zoom, where Teams would actually work better and what the benefits are, and to pitch the benefits so that they've got the what's in it for me, that question answers. So they know that actually there are benefits, whether it's easier, whether they're going to have more people attending their meetings, more uptake, whatever it is, you need to pitch that what's in it for
cost. And whether we're not paying $50,000 a year for when we already have Teams.
I think it also connects with what Marijn was saying about teaching the basics. Yeah. It's teaching the basics and teach why as well. Don't just say you should be doing this. Explain why. Find out what's keeping. It's what you were saying. Find out what's keeping there and teach them why things are better. And there are times it's not Microsoft that is better in cases. So make sure you understand where it is better. Sometimes.
I made it a habit to just ask them, hey, what holds you back from making the step towards XYZ, in this case Teams. So what holds you back? And then they need to answer that. And this is mostly a way better way to go through someone's why they can't do this, instead of saying, hey, please do make this, because then they are just super hesitant. But if you ask them what holds you back, then they will investigate this for themselves.
So we're going to move quickly-ish on to question number 3, which is, what is an often given, but in your opinion, we're going to have some opinions here, overrated advice when it comes to good Microsoft 365 etiquette? And we will start off this round with Sara.
Use the desktop apps in the same way you always did. Microsoft 365 gives you so many different ways. Why keep using the same way? And File Explorer, Sync, nails on the whiteboard, cringe. No, don't use the tools the same way we always did. These tools give us so much more. Let's move on.
Hey, I can't let this go. Nails on the whiteboard.
The sound of nails on the whiteboard.
Blackboard.
No, whiteboard. We've got to move on. Move on. Come on, get with the times.
Would that be an extra feature for the Microsoft whiteboard? I was going to say,
just press a button to create that sound.
Yeah, if you do 5 fingers, you can make that noise. That's an idea. There's a feedback for you.
Whiteboard SVP is here downstairs. So.
Excellent. We shall make sure we ask for that one. Feedback.microsoft.com.
We already agreed on making an app that integrates to whiteout.
Yeah. Brilliant, thank you.
It'd be great for workshops to bring everybody to a close, wouldn't it? Oh yeah.
Thank you, Sara. Marijn.
All right. So for the last few years, I've heard this advice so many times from so many people. When you start a chat in Teams, don't just say hello. Yeah? Yes. I heard it from so many people who were really against it, but really, is that such a big deal? Really, is that such a big deal to make such a fuss?
I don't respond if you don't tell me what you want.
No, exactly. So somebody says hello, and then they don't say anything anymore. Okay. That doesn't stop me in my tracks. I mean, I'll just keep on doing whatever I'm doing. I mean, that's okay. I'm not waiting until they do something else. It's just, I don't care.
We know that, so that is already established.
But it's not such a big problem. Everybody makes such a big problem out of this. But sorry.
But the thing is, it stops you in your tracks. If it blinks and I see Teams, something is there, then I go there and look there, and it is just a hi, hello, whatever. Then it doesn't bring me anything, but I stop doing what I was doing, and I interrupted my work, and that's what I actually.
Yeah, but you've got the same thing with Outlook messages popping up if you don't turn that off. So it will also give you this little glance.
I turned this off.
Yeah. So I do that for Teams as well. Or I'm using Teams in the browser for a lot of customers at the same time.
Yeah.
So I don't get those anyway. So.
The one thing you could do in Teams though is do not disturb is not on or off. You can have a priority list. You can still get notifications. So my boss, my team, I still see their notifications when I'm not disturb. But the rest of it are off.
Funny enough, the other way, I disable my boss and then everyone else gets it's more efficient that way. The other thing I'd say, and I'm going to admit I am guilty of this, of have you got 5 minutes? To me is the same as hello.
Oh, gotta
have you got 5 minutes for? And I always hate it when I do it as well, and I know I still put it through, but try and say what it is for so people can decide. You can triage at that point as well.
Well, you know that 5 minutes is always a lie, right? It is never 5 minutes.
Thank you. So next up we have Luise.
So I heard the advice, and it might be that was you. it might be. You can say something later on. That you should auto-decline meeting requests that do not contain an agenda. So no agenda, no attender. And
you glossed over that phrase. That was brilliant.
It's quotable, right? And I think so there is of course something good in that, because if the agenda is unclear, then of course I will not make an effort and show up, because my schedule is packed. And if it's unclear, then most of the time the meeting will not provide a lot of value for me, because they are unclear about that. And it's not about putting some words into this email that sends this invite for me. So what I did, I was just elevating this idea, and I will also respond to a meeting request, and I will ask you, if you invite me, hey, what is my role in this meeting, and which value do you expect from me to add to this meeting? Which means that the meeting organizer will need to just determine, okay, so why do we want to have Luise in that meeting? And it could be for confirmation, it could be for brainstorming, it could be just because it's nice to have me in a meeting. It is, but I want to know that, because if it's just nice to have me in that meeting, or we just thought this would be interesting for you and it's not interesting for me because I don't care as well, then I want to know upfront and make a better informed decision on if I should be joining that meeting or not. Because for me, if I can't learn something from a meeting and I will not be the main contributor to the objectives of that meeting, I will not attend, because then I don't add value and I don't get value out of it.
Just send me the meeting notes afterwards, which I will not read.
just record the meeting.
Meeting notes, because meeting notes are rubbish.
Do you send back a note though, Luise, to ask them to add an agenda, or do you just auto decline? Do you give them an opportunity to know why you're declining?
Yes, of course,
yeah.
Of course. And that also, of course, has a training effect on others, because next time they know, oh, that is going to happen. We want to avoid this.
This is like Pavlov 2.0.
I mean, I'm a mom, so that means, I want to encourage the right behavior.
Parenting of your colleagues.
Yeah.
That's
a daunting prospect, isn't it?
In a way, yes, of course. So, because I'm a pro in that, and they are probably not, because they excel at other skills. And it's good if you have them this exchange and can give someone good advice, and maybe they even adopt that behavior and say, hey, if it's not clear why I should attend, then I will decline respectfully, but I will decline, because we all sit in too long meetings with too many attendees. All of us do that.
So we're running out of time, so we're going to go through our last.
Okay, I'll be very quick then, shall I? Instant messaging in Teams is not perfect for everything. So remember that you can actually just speak to people, and it's a lot faster. The 5 minutes, do you have just 5 minutes for a chat? You take 5 minutes, usually just having that conversation. You've been distracted, somebody's messaged you going, I've got a quick question. You respond more than 2 or 3 times, just speak to people. It's much, much quicker, and it's very easy to do. You just press the little button in the corner, just have a call, and you speak to them. Much quicker. It'll save you an awful lot of time rather than actually typing back and forth. And can you just explain that a bit further? We all speak a lot faster than we type, but most of us do. So it's much easier to actually just have a conversation. So just don't be afraid to actually just say, rather than just typing, let's just talk about this.
Then you can't prove what crazy thing they asked you for.
There you go. Yeah, if you need the evidence, get the transcript. Record the meeting.
Right. Transcripts are in one-to-one calls now on Teams.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah.
No one's safe.
And probably safe to OneDrive, aren't they?
Probably.
Are there any? Do you have a bit of time for any questions or any comments from that one? Yeah.
To Luise's, I think it would be great, and I've been wanting this for a while, just like when you're sending an email and you forgot the attachment, if you're sending a meeting invite and it notices there's not an agenda, and there's somehow they say, hey, did you need to include an agenda? I would love to see something like that.
Feedback@Microsoft.com.
I think you shared your flow.
I've shared a flow that does that. Yeah. I'll share that again after this.
I love
but
that.
Yeah, it
But
basically.
that's only after you send it. So
It's not. It's
actually a great idea.
Well, I'd love to have like a loop component or something,
Yeah.
but I could put it wherever I want. Like have something like that, like some pre-built templates where it's like if I'm standardly building this kind of an agenda, be able to put it wherever I want.
There is supposed to be agendas coming to Teams meeting invites later this year. So as you build your meeting invite, the agenda is front and centre.
Yeah.
So as you build the meeting in Teams, it's supposed to be.
Interestingly, agendas they set expectations about how much time you need to put in to prepare and to participate and to contribute effectively. But also, with the number of meeting types that we have now, everything's a meeting. Setting an expectation about, is it going to be hybrid? Is it going to be online? Is it going to be in person? And just calling those out, and also setting an expectation about, are you sharing content? Worst thing you want is you have your meeting and somebody joins and go, I'm just jumping in the car. Oh, great, so you're not going to be able to see the content that I was going to share in this meeting. So even rather than setting out, what you're going to do through a meeting, setting an expectation about the format, the attendance is actually really valuable as well.
I think it'd be nice if there was a drop down as well for the different types of meetings. So whether it was like, this is going to be a decision.
Yeah.
So at the end of the meeting, there's going to be a decision. It's going to be A, B,
There's
or
an
C.
app for that called Decisions.
Yeah.
I know, it's really expensive, isn't it?
Meeting types is something.
But that could be good, couldn't it? Like, so it's like ideation, or it's workshopping, or it's decision.
What's the purpose?
Yeah.
And then align that to
You
the
put one at the bottom, which
location.
is like talking shop, and then you can just auto decline it.
Yeah.
So sorry to jump in because I'm getting a little bit worried we're actually getting really useful tips and information and not the entertainment. So I'm going to move on to the rest
I'll
of
drink later, right?
we'll try and wrap this up so we can have a bit more of a chat before the next speaker comes along. But we now have the scores. Now, one thing I've realised I haven't built into this app is the ability on the admin screen to see the scores. So this will be as much of a surprise to me as to everyone else. And we have the top two is Luise and Sara are through to our So I've got to choose which question we're going to have. I think we're going to have Sara first, and I'm going to bring up the question, which you will have 30 seconds, sorry, the comment, which you will have 30 seconds to defend. Oh, and that's bringing up the question, not that. I've just found a bug. Excellent. So I'm going to have to read this out on there. Your comment, which you have to defend, is it's perfectly fine to leave those at home until last in meetings.
Okay. So of course it's fine because they couldn't be bothered to get up, get dressed, and make the effort to get into the office. Why should they have equal or even priority consideration? Those people, we've made the effort to be here today in person. Why should those at home get the same treatment? They really do need to be left absolutely till last. I mean, they've got nothing to contribute, obviously, otherwise they would have made the effort to be here. They really would.
I think I've actually heard that in actual meetings as well.
That might be why I was repeating.
Fantastic, thank you, Sarah, on that one. Now, Luise, let's see.
He's going to be horrible to you, isn't he?
Yeah.
I'm actually being nice because I think we can defend this one. Wearing pyjama bottoms in the office is more than acceptable and should be the law.
Oh, it absolutely should. I mean, we got all used to sitting in our pajamas at home, and now we need to adjust to hybrid or going back to the offices. And it is just like very important that we stay comfy because we're used to that, and there's no value in just like really dressing up other than if you feel good about it. But if you feel good in your pajamas, you should definitely wear pajamas all day long, and then you go back at home and then you can dress up for your partner or for your spouse or someone like that and feel comfortable and just like super fancy with that as well.
I want to agree with you because only my pajamas fit now.
That's so lovely. Yeah, and I also need to wear some kind of very thick socks and just like in the office. So I will not be wearing shoes. So pants, shoes, bra, that is all optional in the office. Just saying.
Fantastic. I'll bring in my bra into the office next time.
Change is hard for people.
Yeah. So, we haven't got a vote from this one. This is where I get to take over and decide. Unfortunately, because Sarah also said that Luise made a good point, I think our winner today is Luise. So, thank you very much. Probably, I can see Yannick lurking outside. I think he might be up here next, but we've probably got a couple of minutes for any questions or comments from anyone that they want to ask the panel at all. No, fantastic. We'll let you move on to other ones. I'm sure you'll see us floating around and can ask them later. But thank you very much for joining. I hope you enjoyed that. Do this now. We will hopefully bring Happy Hour Etiquette back to doing some online sessions at some point. So we'll be tweeting around. You can come join from home, wearing your pajamas or your formal gear, whatever you like as well. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day. And
you won't be last.
Thank you very much.